Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine on a Monday night, coming to you live instead of recorded, and want to share some news with you. A special announcement from Military Images headquarters live in Arlington, Virginia. I'll give everyone a moment to come on and join the conversation. We're simulcasting tonight from or through Facebook and YouTube, which are our two primary channels, along with Instagram for social media. So if you're joining us, welcome. I appreciate you paying attention and following us on Facebook. Our Military Images page has about 107,000 followers, and I'm deeply appreciative and supportive to all of you. Over on our YouTube channel, Life on the Civil War Research Trail, we have about 14,000 subscribers, and I also thank you for your support and for your interest in American history, in Civil War history, and keeping history alive and telling the stories of the soldiers and sailors and other participants who served during the Civil War. So, on to our announcement. I am delighted to tell you that we have a new senior editor and a new column in the magazine. Phil Spaugy is joining us, and his new column is called Of Arms and Men at the Intersection of Photography and Ordnance Technology. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Phil and then a backstory on the column. So Phil is a longtime member of the North South Skirmish Association. I'm sure many of you Civil War enthusiasts are familiar with the organization. Phil has served in numerous offices with the N-SSA, including National Commander and the Board of Directors. He's also been active with the N-SSA's Union Guards of the 19th Indiana Infantry. Phil studies arms and accouterments of federal infantry soldiers with an emphasis on his home state of Ohio, firearms of the U.S. Arsenal at Harpers Ferry, and the Iron Brigade. He has contributed his time and knowledge to the American Battlefield Trust video series and has supported a range of initiatives from the Adams County Historical Society's new museum, restoration of Brigadier General Solomon Meredith Statue in Indiana, and the Ohio display at the acclaimed Civil War Museum in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and much, much more. He is also a partner with Jim Hessler and Hessler Spaugy Action Travel. Phil is a proud descendant of the Adams County, Pennsylvania, Fahnestock, Hartzel, and Ziegler families. He's a retired aviation services company executive who lives in Vandalia, Ohio, with his wife, Amy. So that's Phil, an introduction. I am so happy to have Phil with us. Now, let me tell you a little bit about his column of Arms and Men at the Intersection of Photography and Ordnance, Ordnance Technology. So if you go back to the earliest days of Military Images in 1979, you'll see on the pages of the magazine from time to time that we have featured so many images of soldiers with weapons, long arms, revolvers, pistols, and artillerymen, of course, and heavy artillerymen. And we went to great lengths back then, as we do today, to write captions that describe what you see in the photographs. Occasionally, we would have a story, even a special issue about artillery. So there's long been a relationship between photography and weaponry. Finally, we came up with a column. Mike McAfee did his Uniforms and History column, which sometimes touched on weapons, but more often touched on, as the name implies, uniforms and history. But when Mike passed away a few years ago, I knew that I couldn't replace Mike. And as an honor to him and his legacy, I retired the column permanently. But I wanted to do something because we had a column that was open. We had a space open for a new column. So I launched a new column called Material Culture. And the purpose of that column, and it still is going to be with us, is about weapons, equipment, uniforms, and other items associated with Civil War soldiers. And it's guest hosted. Ron Field, who some of you may know, prolific author and writer, has contributed. Frank Graves has contributed, and others. That, as I mentioned, material culture, that column will still continue. But with Phil, I want to dedicate an entire column that is strictly to ordnance technology. And Phil's expertise, his long knowledge and experience makes him an absolutely perfect fit for this role. Now, over the years, I've come to rely on Phil for his knowledge of weapons. To tell you the truth, I've lost track of the number of emails that I've sent him over the last 10 years or so, emails that have attachments of images that you've seen in the magazine with questions about the long arms and the revolvers that we see in the photographs. And Phil, without any hesitation and a happy huzzah, jumps in. He figures it out. He consults with some folks in his network and is able to tell us more about what we see. And it's really important because we oftentimes forget how important these weapons are to helping us appreciate the images, helping to date the images, helping to show where the images may have come from. These weapons are a critical part of our understanding of Civil War photography. More recently, Phil and I went way down the research rabbit hole on the story that we published about John Augustine Washington III, Mount Vernon's last family owner and an aide to General Robert E. Lee. Washington, as those of you who know from reading the story, was shot and killed by Union soldiers on picket while he was on a reconnaissance near Elkwater, Virginia, with Lee's son, Rooney. That was in September of 1861. Phil and I went back and forth trading newspaper articles and trying to sort out the various and sometimes contradictory accounts that you often find with primary source material that's tracking the story and telling the story as it first happened, that first draft of history. Phil also, not long after that, he shared with me on a different note, a wonderful newspaper article featuring a personal and very humorous ad written by Union soldiers. It's a wartime ad. It was absolutely hilarious. In fact, it inspired me to dedicate the Valentine's Day episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail to personal ads. And most recently, Phil started to write a column for Civil War Times, which, as many of you know, has ended when the magazine recently had its demise. But Phil is going to be working with Military Images, as I mentioned, as senior editor, and I'm absolutely delighted and thrilled to welcome my friend Phil to Military Images. So very excited to share the news with you. I should also mention we are hard at work at the next issue, the summer issue. The spring issue just went out, but there's no pause in the action. We have some very intriguing stories lined up for you. If you're interested, check us out on our website. Just search Military Images or go to militaryimagesmagazine.com. Or if you're interested in a subscription, books, back issues, check us out at shopmilitaryimagesmagazine.com. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.